This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and beauty, where relevant topics are discussed, where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On tonight's show, we're discussing the preamble of life, life's little instruction book, right here on Perspectives. From caterpillar to butterfly, the butterfly effect, and other life realities. You know, we're venturing into rarely charted waters tonight, as far as the media is concerned. And I think it's very interesting because usually this type of content is reserved to books read by geniuses, scientific journals, and the Buddhist thought process. But I thought tonight, being that we're in a medium that people listen to and love to be entertained, as well as sometimes a little educated, we're going to be talking tonight about some of the things that can make your life better. Just the knowledge alone of knowing that these things exist can put things into perspective in your life. How you doing, Billy Boy?
You know, I am doing very well. Thank you, Ashley. And I like the way you started out the show tonight, the preamble of life.
The preamble.
So I think we should, make up the preamble of life. So it's like we the people of the world.
We the people of Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Of Perspectives. In order to form a more perfect union with ourselves.
Do I need to put on a tie?
Yes.
Okay.
An old-fashioned tie, like back in the 16th century.
You need some wooden teeth, Eric.
Yeah, there you go.
Thomas Jefferson had wooden teeth,
I need some George Washingtons.
Yeah, hippopotamus teeth.
Yeah, I need some George Washingtons.
I think you'd have to be white, too, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And that might be a stretch for me. But we are talking about change.
Yes, we are talking about change.
Change is... No, we don't want you to change.
Okay, I like me. Hey, great topic. You were talking about people learning stuff from the show, and you looked over at me, so maybe I'll learn something today. maybe I need knowledge.
Eric definitely has things to learn.
Okay, all right, well, good deal. Well, great to be here, Bill, man. You doing good? Ashley, everybody's
Doing
good.
good.
So let's rock and roll with this, man. Let's do it.
Let's rock and roll with the show. I didn't remember looking at you like that. I had no idea that I looked at you.
Yeah, it was subliminal subconscious.
Really?
Yeah.
Did I do that?
Well, yeah, what are you really thinking?
Yeah, it's like somebody around here needs to change. And she wasn't looking at me when she said that.
And Bill's all happy. He's like, yes, not me.
Well, I can tell you for sure, I'm not going to turn into a white man with wooden teeth.
God bless. I don't know how you clean those teeth. It's a whole deal, and you got the floss thing. Because think about the wooden teeth. It'd probably break the floss each time. It'd be like,
I would imagine.
Would it be splinters in there, too? Little splinters here and
I would
there?
imagine that you just, like like disposable contacts. Be disposable teeth. You just make yourself a new set of teeth every couple of weeks.
How do you stick them in, though? How do they connect with the other teeth?
A thread.
That's why they didn't smile much.
Thread? Oh, jeez. What are you talking about?
That's why they didn't smile much back then. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. They didn't smile a whole lot.
Interesting.
They needted braces.
Probably.
Well, actually, in this situation, they needed veneers.
Or, just don't eat so much sugar and your teeth won't fall out.
Did they brush a lot back then?
No, no, they did not.
They didn't take baths a lot back then.
Well,
and they wore the same things all the time.
The upper classes did. Upper classes did. But,
which was like 0.0000001 of the population.
The 1%ers.
I know a couple of folks that live like they were living back then. You have a couple of friends like that, right? Where you're like, taking a bath in the last week, man. I mean, you got water.
It's like I take a bath once a year, whether I need it or not.
Oh man.
Personally, I ain't going back.
No.
Yeah.
I don't blame you for that one, Eric. I don't blame you for that one.
All good, all good.
I was a woman, too. It's not like I had it great either.
Suffrage. Suffrage.
That was not till like the 60s, right? I mean, we waited it out for a long time.
Suffrage.
Yeah, none of us had it that good back then. And most people died early, too,
Yep.
right? I mean, you were 25, you're considered old.
That's it. That's a wrap.
You know, by 17, if you hadn't gotten married as a woman with birthing hips, you had a problem, right? You
You're an
were
old
bad
maid.
news.
You're an old maid.
Old maid, and you're probably, what do they call it? What is it? Bad goods, you know?
Damaged goods?
Damaged goods.
Yeah.
And if you said too much out of line, they would call you a witch and burn you, right?
Right.
Ashley's 15 and hadn't gotten married.
She's a witch.
Burner.
That's burner.
Burner.
Let's see if she's a witch.
And that's the last show of Perspectives, everyone. Thanks for listening.
And she's not a witch. Oh, man.
Unless she really is a witch. In that case, she'd be back next week, magically.
Ooh.
Give you something to think about there.
I don't have a broom.
We don't need brooms today. We just need hovercrafts.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I could hover around in this station here.
Yeah.
Hovering over your head, Bill. Are you doing it right? Are you making the show right? Is everything good?
Yeah, looking over my shoulder, you know.
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Save that, Bill. Save it. And it's like, shut up.
Bill, error. No, not that. No, not that. So we're talking tonight about the preamble of life, right?
Okay.
The preamble of life, life's little instruction book right here on Perspectives. From the caterpillar to the butterfly effect, and other life realities. So let's begin tonight with talking about change. Change, my dears. Everybody listening tonight. Something that we all have to deal with in life is what? Change. We all have to deal with change. We live in a world that's constantly changing. And the funny thing about change and the idea that there's always going to be constant change is that none of us really live in this world thinking that it's going to change, which is so funny. Like, I know for a fact, I even do this a lot in my life, is that I don't really think about the change ahead. I mean, I live my life based on, well, this is what's happening now. But most of us do not live in a world of change. And we don't think about it until it happens and it's like overwhelming or we weren't expecting it.
Well, you know why on that one, Ashley? It's because in order to change, you don't necessarily know what's coming up. And a lot of people are afraid of the unknown. That's the greatest fear of human beings, is the fear of the unknown. And in order to change, you're kind of stepping out in uncharted territory, you know. And which, by the way, we've had this conversation before on previous shows, Ashley. And if our listeners tonight wanted to listen to previous shows, then how would they do that?
They could actually go online and they could listen to us on Spreaker. You can connect really easily on Facebook to Spreaker, or you can just go on and Google Spreaker with an R and look up Ashley Burgess or Perspectives, and you can listen to us on demand, as well as you can listen to on iTunes podcasting or on ashleyburgess.com.
And that in of itself represents change, because 10 years ago, you could only listen to us on the radio.
Live on terrestrial
On the radio.
On the radio.
Whoa,
Which you still can.
On the radio.
You still can't listen to us live on the radio.
The good
Well, we are
old-fashioned
here
way.
right now.
Yeah, the good old-fashioned
No.
way. You folks are old-fashioned.
I'm not old-fashioned.
No, this is
Don't
cool.
be calling me old-fashioned.
Our format's old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned.
We need to be a hologram.
No.
We are a hologram.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now we're getting existential.
There we get existential. No, this is a good show. I'm excited about it because you think about life and you think about, the seeming contradictions in that we don't like change, but change is inevitable. We don't like pain, but typically through pain, you get a higher understanding. We don't like breakups, but in breakups, you get a better understanding of how to make up. And so it's an interesting dichotomy, this human life thing. And that's what I love about this show, because we peel back the onion and we have the discussion, and this will be a fun discussion.
You're right about that, because think about even relationships. Like, relationships would change. All relationships change or morph into something. And a lot of times, think about the relationships we have with past friends that we used to hang out all the time. And then when we try to create something with those relationships, if both people aren't wanting to create something in the now in the present tense, it doesn't work, because things are constantly changing. We can't live back in 1998 or 1995 where everybody was at the clubs, kicking it. We can't live there. Those places have been demolished for a long period of time, and we've moved on, and so-and-so's had a baby.
And the music was difficult.
You just said a mouthful there.
I like the music. Back in the 90s, the music was great. The house music and the trance and the house music.
Yeah.
Woo! That was great.
No,
All the cool DJs.
Okay. And
what are you talking about? I'm talking like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and
You can't go dance. You can,
Alice
but that
in
wasn't at
Chains.
clubs. You didn't just sit there.
Exactly.
I mean, it might have been at topless clubs, but it definitely
No.
wasn't at like dance clubs.
No,
Bill Topless Club? No.
No, I would never do
Bill.
such a thing.
Bill never does that.
I would never do such a thing. Never did.
No.
But no, you
Bottomless, that's a
you can go to
different story.
certain types of clubs where they played grunge music.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't go to those clubs.
I mean, they were mostly live bands.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're right. Live bands.
you know.
True.
So
True. See, that was my limited vision right there.
I don't remember
Thinking only
clubs.
strictly about DJs.
I don't remember clubs. I was at home studying the encyclopedia.
Oh, yeah, you were a good boy. You go to church in the library, in your spare time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Studying the dictionary.
From A to Z.
Yeah.
Wow. Y'all are cranking it tonight, man. I mean,
It's all good.
It's good. It's good. It's good. At least we're not playing. What was that Truth or Dare? You remember that Truth or Dare game?
Yes.
And you'd be like, Truth or Dare? And you'd make somebody tell the truth, and they'd be like, Truth, and then you ask them some crazy question.
Yep.
And then they'd be all blushing and stuff. I won't do that tonight on this show.
Or at least not live on the show. During the breaks, though.
We'll have to do that.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask some truths here. I'm going to get to Bill first on the topless bars, and then Eric about the encyclopedia. However, let's talk about the change. Let's talk about this. What kind of change, do we find tolerable, and what kind of change do we feel isn't tolerable? Because I think sometimes, when things are going good, why should they change? Like that old concept: if it isn't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? When people say that, but at the same point in time, it really kind of is a part of our life. Like a lot of people think, like these days, if they're good glory days, I don't want them to ever end. So I'm never going to think about this changing. I'm never going to think about the metamorphosis. I'm never going to think about one day I'm going to wake up and this could all be gone.
I mean, we're coming up on a break, Ashley, so I guess I can't get too deep into this, but I think you just hit the main point there is that people don't think about it, and they're not prepared for it, and then once it happens, then it's like they go stark raving mad or something.
True. People don't really think about it, and I think it's something we don't want to think about. I think it kind of scares us a little bit because we got a good finger on things. We got a finger on the pulse to life. We're trying to keep it all together. You got family, you got career, you got schooling, whatever it is that you're doing. You got all this going on. Not to mention we're hurling through the universe on this planet. We're trying to keep our faculties and everything together, and at the same time, now we got to think that everything's going to change.
Yeah.
That we're going to lose out on everything or gain everything, but it's all going to go away.
Let's toss this out. And I know we got to run the break, Bill, but gradual change versus dramatic change. Gradual change, and it goes back to your point, Ashley, about us being on this third rock from the sun spinning around. But our perception of it is a slow perception. It's not a real time perception. And I think if it was the real time perception, we go stark raving mad, to your point, Bill, because like, oh my God, whoa. But it's a slow deal. It's the difference like a river. A river happens slowly over time to the environment at a gradual pace versus blowing up a river or blowing up a particular piece of the earth and turning it into a river or a stream, which is dramatic, and it has after effects and it impacts everything around it. But the gradual creation of a river is something natural. It's at a pace, it's at a rhythm, and it's something that I think we can accept better than something that's drastic.
Fracking.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like that. Fracking. Okay, when we return, we're going to be talking about the preamble of life's little instruction book right here on Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to TalkSpace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at TalkSpace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at TalkSpace.com.
We'll be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Turn and face the strain to changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Turn and face the strain to changes.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight's show, we're discussing the preamble of life, life's little instruction book, as well as from caterpillar to butterfly, the butterfly effect, as well as other life realities. You know, I get it that a lot of times media nowadays don't talk about things like this. This is kind of the upper crust, it's kind of the thoughtful process, but yet it's entertaining and it's real. I mean, a lot of times you're not even going to read this unless you're like some sort of genius in the library, like Eric was when everybody else was partying.
Yeah, that was me.
So, you know, you were talking about change right before the break, and, you know, it's true. I always like that comment when people say, man, it was like watching a train wreck. You know, when somebody says, man, watching that, was like, watch the train wreck.
Like a slow train wreck.
Yeah. And it's like we're just standing there because we're so near it that you don't even see it. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that happened out of the middle of nowhere. And you're right, there's some kind of change that's incremental.
Yeah, and gradual.
Yeah. And then there's other change that just knocks you between the eyes.
Drastic.
Dramatic.
In your face. Dramatic.
Painful. And those types of changes, but the funny thing is that on both types of change, none of us as human beings really like to even think about change, because change is one of those things that's another thing about control. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody listening, nor myself, are control freaks. However, sometimes it's nice to have a finger on the pulse of life, to have a good idea about things.
Yeah, I think so. And I think our universe, sets us up to be able to deal with the constant that is change, because that is the only true constant, in that it is gradual. There's a perception mechanism in it that doesn't make it as drastic, as painful, as dramatic as it could be. Look at yourself 10 years ago, and then put a picture of yourself 10 years ago next to a picture of yourself today. And it's like, wow, bam. And if that happened overnight, it'd freak you out. But if you look at that picture over time, you see the gradual change and the evolution to where you are today, which is not so dramatic, which is not so painful, and which is a little bit easier, in my opinion at least, to absorb.
I like that. And I think the first thing that we have to do to accept change is to what? Accept change. To accept the fact that it happened.
It's a fact.
I mean,
change happens.
It's mathematical.
Let's not gloss over that point, because like I said in the previous segment, change means that you have to accept some ambiguity. You don't necessarily know where this is going to end up, and that's terrifying to some people.
To some.
Yeah, it can be scary.
Yeah, to some, yeah. And to the point, I think, and I can think of actually a couple of examples where people will resist the change at all, even if it's beneficial to them.
Oh well, yeah, because we get so accustomed and programmed. This is the way. Especially, you're right. So that's like in my job, right? So for everybody listening, I'm sure that they realize by now. Yes, I'm a therapist and I'm a life coach, and I have clients all the time that we will have a really major breakthrough, a breakthrough that they haven't experienced their whole life, going back to things that they have been fighting since they were a child, and that breakthrough, and you can see their eyes open, and normally there's a lot of cries of joy.
Sure.
However, some of those clients will come back the next week ready to embrace this change and have worked through it, and the other ones will leave a message in my office saying that they won't be able to make it.
That they're done with the sessions.
And they're going to have to come back at another time. It's not me, it's them. And it's like, well, you don't want to change. Because even though it's one of the best things you could have done, leaving this uncomfortable comfort zone that you've created, your body's so accustomed to being happy, you don't want to change it.
Is it fundamentally, and this is interesting, is it fundamentally that they don't want to change, and I'm putting up quotations, or it is not time for that change to occur?
Well, I think, at least in my experience, for the people I've known that have gone through the situation, I think it's more the former rather than the latter. Yeah. Because think about it. If you know that you need to change for whatever reason, in a relationship context and maybe in a career context, whatever context you want to put it in. Something's not working correctly. You need to make a change, but you just can't bring yourself to do it because what happens if this happens or that happens or whatever. And so that they just can't bring themselves to step over the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and think about the indicators of the need to change. And this goes on with what Bill was saying. Depression, anger, frustration, stress, taking drugs to alter your mind, whether it's prescription or not. And all of these are they're all indicators that there's a change that needs to happen. And I think everybody gets the wake-up call, but some people just choose not to take it. And I think the sooner the better. I mean, if you have a breakthrough, there's a reason why you had that. Now, you can fight it, and you can run from it. Just like something, let's say you wake up the next day, and you were out of town, and something happened to your house burned down or whatever. I mean, you could sit there and act like it didn't happen and go camp out where the house was, or you can move on and try to pick up the pieces. No matter, it's sad. And it's overwhelming because you've lost all. Hopefully nobody got hurt. But I'm saying you lost all your items. You have to recreate all of that. But some people want to live in the fact that it never happened, and you have to kind of graduate over that and say, well, there has been a change here, and I got to move forward with my life at this point.
Well, actually, I'll give you the perfect example. Of course, our longtime listeners know my background as far as changes that have occurred in my life in the past 5 or 6 years. Basically, to keep it short, I was. About 6 years ago, I had a good job, good paying job, a house, disposable income, a relationship, and it got to the point where my job it was just so bad that I would rather rob a bank than go to work one more day. I was unhappy, and all of a sudden the money wasn't worth it, and the girlfriend I had at the time, basically said, you're just unhappy, and I can't continue the relationship like this. And so that was kind of the catalyst. I knew I had to make some changes in my life, and I decided, therefore, to pursue, basically change my career in my late 30s and move to another city, and where I had no family, no friends, and it was terrifying. I have to be honest with you, and I could have very easily have said, I don't know. I mean,
I'm going back.
I'm going back, or maybe I can just find a way to stick it out and make it work. But 6 years later, here I am.
Let me ask this question, Bill, or maybe just when you ultimately realized that you had to change. Were there people in your life before you came to that realization that were saying, and you mentioned your girlfriend and all of that you need to do something different?
Yes.
And then how long did it take for you to accept the fact that you needed to do something different? And what I'm getting at is, was it a combination of the external influences, or did you have to come to that realization on your own within your own time frame? To have enough courage to make that change.
For me, and based on my personality type, it was the second. I had to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And because actually, you've known me long enough. I can be pretty introverted, and I'm also pretty stubborn.
But I don't.
No, not you.
Not me. So I mean, so I did have friends and family who were trying to hint and all that good stuff. Hey, something's not right here. But it was the girlfriend breaking up with me that I think just finally provided the catalyst. Is like, okay, Einstein's definition of insanity.
Same thing.
Change is going to happen no matter if you're ready or not.
Right.
I mean, think about it from that perspective. I mean, some people, and I think that's key too, is that sometimes change isn't going to wait. I mean, you got to either embrace it or fight it. And I think that's what's so key, is that we have to accept it, but realizing that we can't fight change. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, you could sit there and fight it all. I mean, you could have come back. You could have fought it. You could have stuck in the game. You could have stayed in Amarillo. You could have fought it until you ended up, drinking out of a bottle, being, drinking a bottle a day of whatever.
Depressed, all of that.
Being depressed, doing all this stuff and finally losing it. Or you can accept it and embrace it. And sometimes embracing it is a difficult situation.
And that was kind of what I was getting to. I think when you finally make that move or take that step, people can tell you all day long, but it really becomes real when it is an internal motivation to do it versus an external influence. And that's kind of what I was getting at, because when you understand it within yourself, then it's a more natural, maybe not natural, but it's a more authentic move versus external influences saying you got to do this, you got to do that.
I mean, the first step in any 12-step recovery program is that you have to admit there's a problem.
Yeah,
which that implies that change has to come from inside. You have to realize that you have to make the change before you can do it. Now, in my case, it was the external things that finally kicked me in the butt enough.
Well, like even in therapy. So when people go to therapy or they go to a life coach, they go there because they want to make a change, right? And then if there is a breakthrough with their coach or their therapist, the breakthrough came from them.
Yep.
Co-created with the therapist, and so it had to come from them. It's their body and their soul and their whole deal wanting to make that change.
Yep.
Now, however, the human that carries all this can decide, you know what, and the mind and the ego can decide, I don't want to change. Yeah, and you can try to minimize whatever happened as much as you can, almost to, oh, that was a freak accident, that was crazy, that came out of the middle of nowhere, I don't know where that came from, I'm going to literally beat this experience down as much as I can because I don't want to deal with the opposite. I don't want to get out of where I'm at because even though all the shades are closed and I don't want to see any bit of light, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have somebody open those shades and show me the light. And until you're ready to see it, you're not ready to see it. But once you get that opening, that just that glimpse of it, if you're to close those shades again, it's like you're just going back to the way you came. I mean, there's no progress. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about the preamble of life's little instruction book, and we're going to get into the concept of the caterpillar to the butterfly. Stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're discussing the preamble of life's little instruction book, right here on Perspectives. We're also talking about the caterpillar to the butterfly effect, as well as other life realities. And in the last segments, we talked about how change is paramount, how we have to accept change, how we need to embrace change. A lot of us don't like to do it, but I'll tell you that fighting change never worked for me. I've tried to fight it, but it seemed like it was going to roll over me like a well-oiled steam engine. It was going to take me down. It was going to flatten me like a pancake. It was going to flatten me
You're
like
going
a
to be
pancake.
like Wile E. Coyote. Here comes the train out of the tunnel, and boom!
Boom! And I'm against the wall like
flattened on the tracks.
Yeah, like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I'm still yelling, like my mouth's open, I'm screaming. Stuff's happening. Wile E. Coyote Burgess. There you go.
There you go. and for our listeners, that's true in more ways than one. If only y'all could see behind the scenes here during the breaks.
Wile E. Coyote, interesting, this sidebar, I was in the Middle East a while back, and there was a bar in the Middle East, and the name of the bar was the Wile E. Coyote.
I bet people got crazy there.
Yeah, you walk in a bar in the Middle East called the Wile E. Coyote, and you walk in there, and they're showing Wile E. Coyote cartoons.
That's the kind of place I like.
And talk about change.
Do they have Mamba beer there?
They did not have Mamba beer. They did not have Mamba beer.
Okay, by the way, listeners,
it is the Middle East, by the way.
Mamba beer is Eric's favorite beer.
Yeah, ever. And if anybody knows where we can find it, send us a note, please.
Right.
He wants some real bad. He's going to have to go to Africa to get some, actually.
Mamba. No problem with that. Let's do it.
Let's go. We'll take a junket to Africa.
Live from Africa.
The Perspectives African series.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Brought to you by Mamba.
From the Wile E. Coyote. Oh, no, that's in Saudi.
We'll go pitch it to the station executives.
That's a great idea.
Maybe they'll pick up the tab for us.
I'm going to wear one of those saris, too, or whatever. Is it sari, or what is it?
Yeah, the wrap skirt thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you see is my eyes.
Sarong.
Sarong.
What if you saw just only my eyes?
Oh.
You have great eyes, Ashley.
Yeah, you have great eyes.
Yeah, but you know how much I always, like, roll my eyes and all
see,
that kind of stuff?
and here's the thing, Ashley. I mean, you're part, your ethnicity. You have Native American in you,
right?
So yeah, I mean, get you out in the sun a little bit, and you could pass. I think.
Soul sister.
I mean, now me on the other hand, white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, and I'll sunburn, out there. So
all good.
I'm screwed.
All good.
You're screwed.
Yes.
No, you'll be fine.
Doesn't matter. It's still the motherland to all of us, so it's all good.
It will embrace all perspective people here.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about change. Now let's move to the next concept. The next preamble of life, the next reality is that we are what we think we are.
Interesting.
Just real easy. We are what we think we are. I mean, I know this sounds very simple. Quite elementary, my dear Watson, on a show like this. But it is simple because it's real. Most of the most real, honest things in life are the simplest, right? It's simple. So what are we when we are what we think? Some people, like Bill was talking about, we are what we eat, and to some degree that is true. But we are what we think. So how do we think about ourselves? What do we think about ourselves? How do we think about our life? And that does transition and transmute into how our life really is and how others see us.
Yeah, I love that phrase, Ashley. You remind me of a philosophy class I took in college when we studied René Descartes, and I think, therefore I am, which is a different way to say that. And I think it goes back to the power of the mind and the mind's ability to embrace change or even be the cause of change. I think that's a powerful thing because our mind, if we make up our mind to do it, to Bill's point earlier, he finally made up his mind to facilitate that change. And I think that's a very good point. Whatever the circumstance is, it's all mental. And once you make that mental transition or that mental pivot, then that reality, whatever you decide that reality to be, has a possibility to manifest.
Well, and I'll come back at you with more philosophy.
Come on with me, man. Come to me.
I believe it was Nietzsche.
Who
said
Ray Nietzsche, the football player?
No, Friedrich Nietzsche.
Oh, okay.
Nietzsche.
The German philosopher.
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche. I'm sorry.
Nietzsche, yeah.
And
you're always going to try to find a football reference.
Always. Huh? Life is football.
So he said that, to be is to do.
Yeah.
And to do is to be.
Yeah.
Now, Frank Sinatra said, doobie doobie. No, I'm kidding. Doobie doobie doo.
What was that, Ray Charles?
Chop wood, carry water.
That's Frank Sinatra. Right?
Chop wood, carry water.
Chop wood, carry water.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, if you're going to be who you are, then you have to.
You first have to know who you are.
Yeah, you have to know who you are, and you have to let that come out.
You got to kind of create yourself.
Which I think is, to some degree, the whole purpose of this life journey. And we're talking about change, and we're talking about the butterfly and the cocoon and all of that. That's kind of us, Is that not what this thing is about? It's about that transformation. It's about understanding where you were, where you're going, and where you ultimately are meant to be. And change is all wrapped up, all up in that.
Well, and it's like, what do you think you are? And it's interesting. Recently, I was actually doing a school career day.
Oh, good for you, Ashley.
Career day.
Giving back to the community.
You're all excited about that, too, yeah. So how did that go?
It went well. It's my second year now. It went well. And, some kids are more respondent than others. And some are very respondent, like, with their eyes and their expressions, but they don't, it's middle school. And they don't want other people.
Which is a very awkward time in anybody's life.
Amok.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they don't want people knowing, they don't want to be a teacher's pet. They don't want to be this. But there was a couple of classes where there was a lot of good questions asked. But one of the things was that I really wanted to point out to the children. And I said, if I leave you with two things today and you don't take anything else from it, you don't want to be in radio, you don't want to do this. Two things is that, we really are, whatever we say about ourselves in our own head, we create and it becomes us. And I said, so if you're not good at track or you're not good at school and you're like, I'm awful, I'm bad, never going to do this, everybody's better than me, I suck at this. That's what's going to happen is that you're going to be that way.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you bring to you what you look for, what you ask for. So, for example, I said, if I think that everybody in the world is undereducated and jerks, everybody that comes to me is going to be undereducated and be a jerk. If I think that everybody has talent and has some sort of direction or some sort of drive, or there's something that I'm supposed to learn or what have you, it might not be 100% across the board, but for the most part, I'm going to see a totally different realm. I'm going to see a totally different thing.
The mental manifests itself in the physical. And just another point, and I'll just go back to what I know, or at least a part of what I know. It was the same way as an athlete, Ashley, and you know this, you're an athlete as well. And Bill, I know you've competed on different levels as well. But as a ball player, especially in a sport like football that's physically demanding, I had to think and tell myself that I was the best person on the field, that I was the best athlete on the field, and that the person that I was covering, I was a defensive back and all of that you're not going to beat me. I'm a better athlete than you are today, and you're not going to win. And in the midst of 100,000 people in the stands and 1 million people on TV, I'm having a conversation with myself, reminding myself that I'm exceptional. And that got me through it often, more times than not. And so it works. It works.
Yeah, because if you actually went on the field and think, okay, I'm gonna get my butt kicked.
I'm terrible, or they're better than me.
Which you probably played with or against guys who had that mindset, right?
Yeah, you know, at that level, I think everybody has a healthy confidence in themselves to get to that level.
Even to get to that level.
But
still, I mean, I'll bet guys that, had their peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. And life is about a spectrum. And sometimes you may catch a guy and he was having a bad day. And that's why most of the game, and it's the same way in life.
Mental.
Bingo. It's mental. Most of football was mental. It was a mental game that manifests itself in a physical realm of combat.
Ashley, that reminds me of when I was still in the insurance business, and I towards the end of my tenure there, when I was actually agent trainer. And you've heard of the Pikes, what is it, Pikes Peak? No, that's not the right name.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
The fish market up in Seattle.
Oh, yeah, where they throw the fish and all that?
Yeah, which is, just so entirely cool. Just take, fish and wrap it up, and, they just play. I mean, they don't even work. They play.
Yeah.
And the one thing that stuck out to me in this 5-minute video was they asked one of the guys whose job it was to stock the shelves. Okay, so here he has to get up at 3 a.m. and show up to work, unload smelly fish and clams and other stuff that some people may find disgusting, and in cold weather. Because it rains a lot in Seattle, right?
And it's chilly most of the time.
Yeah, and so they asked him, why are you in such a good mood? Why do you enjoy this? And his answer was, well, I chose to be at work today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
and that was the point I made. You chose to do whatever it is you're doing today. You didn't have to go to work today. I mean, and some people are going to say, yeah, well, I don't have any choice. No, you chose to get up out of bed. You chose to go to work today. Now, if you don't go to work, there's going to be consequences. But you chose to do whatever it is you're doing. You can therefore choose your attitude.
Yeah, and that's with life across the board. I mean, and you're right. When you go into a game, when you go to work, whatever you're doing, it's just life. Just getting up out of bed. When you realize that a lot of times we treat ourselves like our worst enemy instead of how we treat our best friend. If you started treating yourself half as good as you treat your best friend, your life's going to start matriculating in a totally different manner.
Yeah.
We see ourselves as the absolute worst most of the time, except for a few people out there listening that are completely narcissistic, and you know who you are. However,
why are you looking at me, Ashley?
I didn't look at you. I'm looking straight ahead. I got blinders on. I'm straight ahead. Yeah, it's like a horse. I got those little things on my eyes. Can't see anything. Can't see. But seriously, I mean, like, for the most part, we create the way that other people see us, because when we see ourselves a certain way, other people see it that way too. And all of a sudden things start working out. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about the preamble of life's little instruction books right here on Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 shakes.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here and give us your perspective. We're listening. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight's show, we're discussing the preamble of life, life's little instruction book, as well as From the Caterpillar to the Butterfly Effect, and some other life realities. Right before the break, we were discussing we are what we think we are. We honestly are what we think we are. And so in order to make that work for us, realizing that this is a complete fact, it's a fact. You are what you think you are. It's a fact. There's no going around it. There's no saying, oh, that's not true. There's no saying, oh, this is a bunch of lofty commentation from people that are all positive thinkers. No, it's not true. It is constantly true that what you think about yourself, you are. And you will express that way in your mannerisms, your actions, and all your relationships. So start by seeing yourself in happy, good light. It's easy to beat up on ourselves. It's easy to put ourselves down. But it seems even harder to bring ourselves up. It's like we want to help everybody else get to that next level. You want to build everybody else up. But when it comes to you, what happens? The opposite. It's like somebody that cleans house for a living. Most of the time you go to their house and their house is a disaster because they don't want to do it. And so if you're over there helping everybody else all the time and you're not taking care of yourself, it's kind of hypocritical too.
And you're not really helping them, kind of enabling their actions, aren't you?
You are, and also you're not really taking care of the core, because if you're not really feeling good about you and you're around people all the time, people are going to pick up on that subconsciously. And the sad thing is that when we don't think we're good enough, eventually over time, other people around us don't think we're good enough.
Yeah, because you're radiating that particular narrative, you're radiating that energy. And again, back to what we talked about earlier, whatever your mind conceives, it manifests itself into reality. That's a true deal.
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah. Other people can kind of pick up on others' vibes.
Yeah.
And, Ashley especially. I mean, she's the best at it I've ever seen. She's
supernatural.
She's like Deanna Troy empath, type.
She's ethereal.
I mean, she don't even have to enter the room. She just knows.
She's omnipresent.
Yeah. Whereas with me, I have a harder time picking up on stuff like that. But eventually, I can get there.
Yeah. No, I pick it up, man. I can pick up a vibe in a minute. And I remember that as a child. I used to avoid negative environments as a child, and that skill set has manifested itself as an adult. I can sense it, man, and I avoid it because for me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, and so I try to surround myself with people like I'm in the studio with right now.
Yeah, like Ashley, who's got her coffee thing
a coffee holder
on top of her head.
It's like a crown. I've made my own crown, my perspectives crown.
And Kermit the Frog twins as her servants in front of her.
One's praying, one's got his hands up in the air like, what the heck are we doing here? I don't know.
That's her antenna.
Queen Ashley.
That's her antenna.
Let's watch another episode of Seinfeld and discuss life. Yeah, we are what we think, and that's so important. So let's move to our last concept, our last preamble of life, that is. It's the butterfly effect. It's this transformation. And I know a lot of people hear the butterfly effect and think about different things, but in this case, we're talking about the butterfly and the effect of we have a caterpillar that goes into a butterfly that transforms. And
after spending a lot of time in a cocoon. Yeah.
Anybody seen that Cocoon movie? That was a great movie.
Yes, that was a great movie. But here's the thing.
Back in the day, yeah.
They spent a lot of time as a caterpillar first.
Yeah.
And then more time as in the cocoon, and then you come out as the butterfly.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
and all of that is highly symbolic.
Yeah.
It
highly
really is.
symbolic.
And we're able to see that as we're living right now.
And I remember my cocoon stage, and I think that speaks to the necessity of having time with ourselves alone, without the external influences of negative energy, without the external influences of negative thoughts and resistance and all of that, but time alone to get to know yourself so you can appreciate the wings when you get them. And it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier, no pain, no gain. Some pain and sometimes isolation are good things because it allows you to look deeper within yourself or allows you to focus more on who you might become. And so the symbolism of that is wonderfully interesting. And something I read a bunch of years ago, that caterpillar has one singular focus for the most part. It will attach itself to a tree and a leaf, and it will eat. It won't even mate. It will eat.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with, and I look at it symbolically as in my life journey, that eating for me was a time of study. And I was serious when I talked about reading a lot. That was a time for me to put into my body, into my mind, nourishment, intellectual nourishment that would help me for the day that I became that
Well, you
butterfly.
take it symbolically. I take it literally. I eat. No, I'm kidding.
Bill, you got it down, man.
But look at that, man! I had a really, really good like existential thought, and Bill just
And
turned it into something
I just had to
about the
go
munchies.
and turn it upside down.
So, but listeners, think about that. Think about the symbolism of the journey of the caterpillar to the butterfly, and think about how that applies to your own life. What was your caterpillar stage? What was your cocoon stage? And have you reached your butterfly stage?
Yeah, maybe you're still in the caterpillar stage. Maybe you're still in the cocoon stage.
Well, you got to crawl, you got to slither before you fly, right? Before you fly. You
I hated slithering.
before you fly.
It was
Some
so
people
messy.
crawled, you know.
It was so messy.
It's like, ooh, gosh, all that dirt.
Don't make me bring up the paramount.
Where's Eric? Just follow the slitter juice.
Ew.
He said the slitter.
gross.
So I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Like, Eric's thought process is like Bill's thought process, or also we can look at it from maybe this part of our life, being on this earth, being in this lifetime. Is the cocoon, is the caterpillar,
Exactly, yeah.
the caterpillar
At a greater scale,
We're the
yeah.
caterpillar. You know what I mean? And then eventually we go into a cocoon, and then eventually we fly on the other side.
The cocoon could be death, maybe.
Yeah, that's how I kind of see it.
Physical death. Yeah,
I kind of see it, but I don't. But I think that a lot of people lose thought about what death really is, and so most people think you're dead and you're done. I think that death is a metamorphosis into another state, so that would represent the cocoon, going back into basically almost like a womb type state, and re-entering again from another place, and that could be another spiritual level, that could be another realm.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But that's my opinion. But I do see it also. Theoretically as well here on planet Earth, going from crawling to flying. We have to learn how to crawl. We have to learn how to walk. We have to learn how to talk. And then we have to understand our emotional ability. We have to understand our mental state. But then we also have to reflect and understand, the real purposes of life, and from our heart space and honest to God truth. Yeah. I mean, one of the preambles has to be that, what you think and what you believe in yourself is true, as well as the more truth and the more closer you align yourself with synchronicity and an authentic lifestyle, the more everything's going to be on target. I mean, it's hard to have, it's really hard to have an authentic, really balanced lifestyle if you have one thing that's just out of whack.
Yeah, or several external influences that are out of rhythm with your own rhythm in life. And that's why sometimes you have to step back and you have to have that alone time, and you have to quiet yourself and really listen, because you realize that the majority of things, relationships included, are a distraction.
And listen to the voice of your conscience. I really think that's why some people are afraid to be alone.
Sure.
Because they don't want to listen to what their subconscious is telling them.
Yeah.
But that's why people want to go to bed with the TV on. I mean,
that's
drown themselves out,
Yeah.
That's why there's some friends that you have that constantly have to have the radio on as loud as possible.
Yeah.
And if the radio's not on, haven't you ever been at someone's house where you're having a great conversation and they're like, let's put the TV on for noise?
They can't stand the silence.
Yeah.
No, but I have been in people's houses where the TV is already blasting.
But they're not watching it.
And they won't turn it off.
And they're not even in the same room, but it's just on.
And then when you're having a conversation, everybody's yelling.
Which
and nobody knows why they're yelling.
Which my problem is, I have exceptionally good hearing, and it's like a dog, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm like going, I can't stand it at some point.
Oh, I want to go to a basketball game with you. Because basketball games are funny because they got all the lights, and then they got all what I'm saying, like the light up ad spots on all the sides, and then you got like whatever cheerleaders are out there, and then you got the game, and then you got the music playing, and you got this and that. I can just see you like ADDing out on that stuff.
Oh, I absolutely
unable to see the game itself.
And you'll say something to me, and I'll go, "What?" And you'll say, "Did you say that? What?"
And you're over there looking at something else. I got to go get some chips.
Right.
You see the chip guy? You see the chip guy?
I totally ADD out on that. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. The preamble of life, the butterfly effect. These are really, really important bedrocks of our life.
Yeah.
The concept of change, the concept that we have to realize that change is going to happen. We got to brace it. I mean, you don't want to hold on for grim death against change, because it's not going to do you any good. I'll tell you that. It's going to roll right over you.
No, I dig it. I mean, you call me the oddball, but I'm okay with it, because at every step in my life, when I've been honest with myself, at every step of my life, every door that I've walked through, whether willingly or unwillingly, has revealed something new, has revealed opportunity, and to some degree has revealed ascension. Even when I feel as though I'm going backwards, overall I'm still ascending to whatever that butterfly. You know, I think I'm going to get like some butterfly stuff that I'm going to start wearing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Your daughters will like that.
You think I'll lose any man points?
I want to get some wings.
At
We'll get
this
some
point,
wings. Yeah, let's get some wings.
At this point, Eric, it doesn't matter if you
I want red and
lose
green
man
wings.
points.
That doesn't matter.
No,
because I'm a dad with daughters.
You're a dad with daughters and a husband. You know,
And you're allowed to. You just take your daughters out too. You got to keep them with you though when you do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if it's just you at work, just hanging out here at the studio with the wings on,
that's creepy.
I don't know.
That's creepy. But if I do it with my daughters,
they're like, oh,
Can you see Eric as a mime?
Yes.
Dress up like a mime?
I can, actually.
Really?
Yes.
very nice with white gloves and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, the face paint and, you know, all this stuff.
Let's do that on this next show.
You gonna do that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
I like it. Mime Eric.
Can I get a white
eHarmony in the mime outfit.
eHarmony. And that is my new nickname, by the way.
eHarmony.
eHarmony.
Instead of Pam.
That's an inside joke, guys, and we're going to actually go on and put that out here soon on the internet, let you know what Pam really means. But for some of y'all, you can really think about what the letters are, and you can kind of try to assemble what you think might be PAM on that side of the fence. But anyway, for anybody, if you're listening to the show and you really like it, take away one thing, and that is we create our own realities. You create your own reality. And in order to do that, we realize that change is normally embraced. If we're doing the right thing, we're living right by ourselves, normally change is not a bad thing. It might appear not so good at the beginning, but usually it flourishes into something good. As well as we are what we think we are, as well as looking at the butterfly, understanding the caterpillar, then to the butterfly, and understand that has a lot of representation in it. Not just saying, oh, that's a butterfly, embracing that concept because I think it's a little show into what we have in store. So we got a great show for you next week. Awesome show, Eric.
Dig it. I'm going to fly out of here.
I'm flying out of here on my wings.
I'm fly like an eagle.
Fly like a butterfly.
Like the things,
Bill, great show.
Thank you very much, Ashley. I learned a lot as always.
We're going to get some wings here, so stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 3 shakes.